Part of the magic of living out in the wild is there's always something going on no matter where you are. It's the interactions between different animals that really amuses me. In today's episode, we are entertained for ages by the interaction between a single hyena and a massive wake of vultures. And yep, that's one of the collective nouns for a group of vultures. If they're all flying and circling, they're known as a kettle of vultures. If they're all perched in some trees, they're known as a committee of vultures. And if they're down on the ground and feeding on a carcass, they're known as a wake. So join us as we enjoy this very spectacular interaction between them. So as we're driving along here, just noticed a whole lot of vultures pouring out of the sky. So there's very likely a carcass in this area, a particularly large carcass with this many vultures dropping down. There were some lions in this area last night, so let's get into this block and see what's going on. Fingers crossed that there's something quite exciting happening in there. So we've arrived to a pretty phenomenal scene. We found a single hyena feeding on a kudu bull that might have died of natural causes. There's no evidence of any other predators in the area. The vultures look like they've been feeding on this, which probably drew in the attention of this hyena who's come in and he's cashing in on a lot of the internal organs there. But it's such a spectacle because as soon as he moves to feed on one side of the carcass, the vultures then all come and feed on the other. The hyena then gets a little bit upset, tries to chase them away. So it's pretty comical just watching the interaction between them. But with the number of vultures pouring out of the sky and coming in and landing around here, it is very likely to attract either other hyenas or lions into the area. And so this hyena is just trying to get his full before any other. Oh, look at this. The vultures are just fighting over a piece here. The hyena is trying to get his full before anything else comes in. Such a scene going on here, my word. Commotion of all the vultures around here and then descending from the sky, the chances of another predator arriving on the scene is very, very high, and it doesn't want to get caught off guard because it's not going to be able to hear or see another predator arriving. It's very risky business being in there, so it's hiding underneath the bushes in the distance, and so it's just a matter of time before these vultures polish off the last little bits of meat left on this carcass. You can see them all piling in on top of each other. The majority of the vultures here are all white-backed vultures, although because they're so filthy now you can't actually see that their backs are white. And then there's a couple of hooded vultures, the much smaller ones with the bright pink faces. That face flushes pink when they're excited, and of course with there being this much meat around, they're very excited. It's also a sign of dominance every now and then. And then there is a white-headed vulture. So a couple of species here. What's interesting with vultures as well is when they feed, because they're feeding so frantically like this, they don't want to be caught off guard. They need to be able to escape. So what they do is they absolutely gorge themselves, store that food in a crop, which is essentially a storage pocket for the food, and then they can get away to safety of a tree or somewhere else. They can then process the food from that crop into the gizzard, which is a very muscular type stomach, which will help them process it further. Made very short work of this kudu carcass. So it looks as though the hyena has moved on because there's very little left on this carcass. The vultures are finishing off the last bit here. So what was very interesting, there was this big gust of wind that came through here, and immediately all the vultures that were in the trees nearby here all took flight, and those were ones that had already fed, probably because they were using that gust of wind to help get themselves into a thermal where they could then use that to get some elevation and move away from here, all with very, very full crops and bellies. They're a lot heavier, which means it takes a lot more energy in order to get to the altitude to try and find a carcass. But these guys are all finishing up the last little bits of the kudu here, so we're probably going to wrap it up and start heading back to camp. But what a phenomenal morning watching the cleanup crew of the bushveld come in and absolutely demolish this entire kudu carcass. That's it from us this week. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you all again next weekend.